Today we're going to take a look at the Tablo 4th generation over-the-air DVR. This product was received for free in exchange for this review as part of the Best Buy Tech Insider Network review program. Let's take a look at the website for a second just to go through some of the specs. So first of all, this is a ATSC 1.0 recorder, so the standard high definition television that records at 1080 interlace format, standard broadcast high definition signal that's been in place for a number of years. One nice thing is it does come with some storage, not a ton of storage, but 128 gig to get you started, and it's easily expandable by attaching a USB drive, which I'll show you in a minute. It does include two tuners, which will allow you to record two over-the-air shows at once. Another nice feature I'll show you a picture of in a second is it includes a physical Ethernet port as well as Wi-Fi. With the 4th generation, one thing that Tablo has done is they've removed the subscription requirement for guide data. So now you also get 14 days of guide data included. You don't have to subscribe to that separately, which is nice. Let's take a little bit closer look at the product. This is it after it's all set up. Let me go back to the beginning. So in the box, you've got a standard, the kind of hockey puck, maybe about 4 inches in diameter. Standard power jack, an Ethernet cable, and mounting hardware in case you want to mount it on the wall for some reason. On the back, in terms of hooking it up and connectivity, it's pretty straightforward. You've got a coax connector for your antenna. You do need a good antenna. You can't just turn this on and throw a cheap $5 antenna on it and hope for the best. With the HD signals, you need a very clear, very line of sight, very directional antenna to get the high definition broadcast. So I wouldn't fault the unit if you have a bad antenna, for example. But as I mentioned, there's a USB port, so you can hook up an external hard drive. In my case, I'll show you an example. I had an old laptop hard drive laying around. I threw an external enclosure, and it worked just fine. I like to hook mine physically up to Ethernet instead of Wi-Fi, but I'm glad it has that option as well. Setup, you simply install the app on your phone. It discovers the device, and then it goes through updating firmware. In my case, I had to physically unplug it a couple times after the firmware update, but that's normal. After the update is complete, it goes through and searches for channels, so you can select what channels you want to have in your guide data. Maybe you don't want the home chopping network or whatever cluttering up your guide data. You can deselect that. In my case, how I chose to view it or interact with it is through the Roku app. When you search for this app on Roku, there's two of them. There's a white one and a blue one. The white one is for the old DVRs from Tablo, and the blue one is for the 4th generation DVRs. So make sure you select the right channel or app to install. Yeah, so this is my setup. I've got a small portable external monitor. I've got the Tablo connected to my network and to an external antenna. In my case, I'm using a Roku stick I had laying around. And again, I found an old hard drive enclosure that I attached to get some additional storage. I did find as well that I had to use the phone app to activate the hard drive to format it. The Roku app didn't give me that option. It wouldn't recognize the drive until after I formatted it through the phone app, but minor stuff. Let's see here. Let's take a look at some live action here. So you can see the app. Oops, don't want to exit. Typically, it's going to default to the home screen, which is going to bring up, its suggestions or recommendations for you of what it thinks that you want to watch, right? So it thinks I want to watch Wheel of Fortune. Okay, let's watch Wheel of Fortune. So I moved the Tablo unit to my basement where my antenna system all comes in. And then I'm 3 rooms away and I'm accessing this over Wi-Fi. Picture quality is very good. No complaints with that. You know, it takes a while, as most of these streaming boxes do, to tune it and so on. If I go up to live data, it brings up the guide. And then I can scroll through the guide once that populates to watch what's there. As I said, it has 14 days of guide data. If I wanted, what am I on, Three's Company here? If I decided I wanted to record that, I just simply click on record. Or I could go to series information and I can set up a option to record every episode if I wanted to of this. So it'll go through and tell me what shows are upcoming and if I want to set up different recording options, what to keep, how long to keep them, auto delete, all that other stuff they'd expect from a DVR. So, you know, it's pretty full featured and self-contained and affordable in terms of a DVR option. The one thing I was scrolling to I wanted to highlight briefly is the over-the-top channels. So if we go down to below the guide data, you can also see a bunch of free channels that come in streaming. So these you don't even need an antenna for. So you could, in theory, use it without an antenna and just watch these channels. The channels will vary a little bit by zip code, but you know, if I decided I wanted to record one of these over-the-top channels, I can do that as well, which is unique. I've not seen that at any other streaming DVR. The other thing I noticed is it doesn't seem to take up a tuner. So I don't know what the threshold is, but I was able to get 3 of these over-the-top channels recording at the same time, in addition to 2 over-the-air channels. So I was recording 5 things at once, technically. And if you're not familiar with the over-the-top channels, they're streamed in a linear fashion. They're not on demand typically, but they're like regular broadcast TV channels, just sponsored by different companies. That is the long and the short of it. You know, it works well. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but at this price point, I don't expect it to be. Would I like it if it had more than 2 tuners? Yes. Would I like it if it supported ATS3? Yes, of course. But at this price point, it's pretty much the best that I've seen at this price point. Everything else is going to cost you 2 or 3 times more to get some of those other advanced features. You know, a few items of note: it doesn't work with Plex. It doesn't have an interface for that. It does not output the channels as DLNA, if you know what that means, right? So you're stuck in that ecosystem with Tablo and streaming through Roku or some other streaming sticks that are out there. But again, it works great. I've got no complaints about it, especially at this price point. So I would recommend it. If you've got basic needs, you want some basic streaming. If your antenna's in a weird place and you just want to be able to co-locate this close to your antenna, like I said, all my antenna connections terminate into my basement. And instead of running wires all over the house, I can use this streaming capability to get at that information. So it doesn't matter where you put this on your network, you put it close to your antenna where you're going to get the best signal. So that's it. That's all she wrote. Overall, I recommend this. I do this for fun. I do this as a hobby. I don't get paid for it. My payment is receiving the free product and then writing an honest review about it. So if I hated it, I've got plenty of reviews out there that say I hate the product. This isn't it. There's a few little quirks getting the setup, but you know, it's a brand new product and that's kind of to be expected. So definitely recommend it. There's a quick overview of what you get, and I appreciate you watching. Have a good day.